you know, if I'm not putting things to you properly or fairly, then obviously you must just tell me, or you disagree. Because your understanding is that there was some kind of an agreement, and this is evident or evidenced from this action plan presented by Khumalo, and the dates are there, and they're all 23 March, and even so, you seem to say that you even indulge that by making it the 24th of April, a month later. But a cut-off date had been agreed. That seems to be what you're saying.
But that what was approved by the National Commission.
Okay.
In his own words.
Okay. So if I may just put to you what, because again, just on the objective facts, clearly the task team was not disestablished or discontinued or terminated at the end of March.
It was not.
It was also not disbanded by the 24th of April.
That is correct.
It was also not ever disbanded because the commissioner, as you now know, after you made a submission on the 12th of July for money, because you were now going to distribute the work of the political killings task team to the murder and robbery squad, and you, in other words, just another division or another section was going to continue with the same work. You made a written proposal, and that only afterwards, after I think you were, don't think you were officially suspended, but you were stay-at-home order. So that only came on the 27th of July, so that was refused. Mkhonazi had, however, made and Khumalo submission for additional funding for the task team until the end, until March 2026, and that was approved. So all that we know. And as we speak, we know the task team is still operating like they used to. You agree?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what General Masemola said prior to this meeting on 5 March. I appeared before the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee of Police for a briefing by the SABC, amongst others, focusing on the challenges relating to crime intelligence and investigation against Major General Khan, the status of the PKTT, and details of an interview by the Provincial Commissioner of KZN during the 2025 Police Day. I think that was in January 28th. It was a virtual meeting, and then he says who was attendance, and you were also in attendance. During this session, Lieutenant General Khwanazi made an allegation that the minister knew a gentleman by the name of Brown Mkhotsi. This is but one of the allegations made by Lieutenant General Khwanazi at the meeting. Minister Nkunu denied knowing a gentleman by that name after the meeting, in a meeting where I was present together with the Deputy Ministers Matali and Poshielo, and the minister repeated his denial regarding Brown Mkhotsi to me and the 2 Deputy Ministers. And this is the one I want to get to. On the 6th of March, I attended the ministerial meeting in Cape Town. In attendance at the meeting was the Minister, Deputy National Commissioners, Policing and Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Musikili, and Lieutenant General Sibiya, Lieutenant General Khumalo, Chief of Staff in the Office of the Minister, Mr. Gabinde, Lieutenant General Sutumile, a Lieutenant Colonel, and me. In preparation for this meeting, Lieutenant General Khumalo prepared an updated presentation of the PKTT. After Lieutenant General Khumalo presented the briefing note to the Minister, the Deputy National Commissioner of Policing and I were in favor of the plan. But the Deputy National Commissioner of Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Sibiya, and the Chief of Staff of the Minister Mr. Kabini, were against the plan. They were in favor of the immediate disbandment. The minister's conduct in these meetings and in general regarding the disbandment was very concerning to me. I inquired from the minister at the beginning of the meeting what was the reason and background for the decision to disband the PKTT. And then the minister responded that the political killings took place pre-94, not after. During the meeting, the presentation of Lieutenant General Khumalo was partially accepted. The minister was adamant and supported by Lieutenant General Sibiya and the Chief of Staff that the dockets had to be returned to the station of origin and not to another unit or structure in KZN. The minister also made it clear that the phased-out approach or winding down of the disbandment of PKTT must be finalized during 2025. Nevertheless, and this is really the point I want to ask you about, because it seems to override this plan that was presented on the 6th. Nevertheless, the meeting concluded that Lieutenant Generals Khumalo and Sentumile must revise and amend the plan in accordance with the decisions taken during the meeting. This must be prepared for sign-off by the minister. It was agreed that there would be a further meeting convened on the 27th of March to finalize the plan. Until then, no further action would be taken because the plan had not been approved and signed. The following was highlighted in the presentation. The need for the avoidance of adverse and unnecessary challenges that could be faced if the PKTT is disbanded was of paramount importance. In this regard, the proposal that there be a phased-out approach to the disbandment along the lines set out in the preliminary report. 2, insofar as the 114 dockets were already on the court roll or before the court, the recommendation was that these 114 dockets remain with the current PKTT officers, both in KZN and the Eastern Cape, until finalization of the prosecution process, and thereafter there will be a gradual withdrawal of the remaining PKTT members until all cases are finalized. And then there was a proposal how the remaining members of the PKTT would have to have the following responsibilities. I'm not going to read that out. That's for the record. That's at paragraph 138 at page 44 of General Masumola's affidavit. Then the General reproduces this plan at paragraph 139, and that is where you say there was some kind of an agreement or consensus or whatever. It says there, submit the final close-up report to the Minister 31 March 2025. But then at 140, the National Commissioner says, on 27 March 2025, a follow-up meeting was held regarding the implementation of the PKTT disbandment plan. In attendance at this meeting was the Minister, the 2 Deputy Ministers, Lieutenant General Sentumile, Lieutenant General Sibiya, Lieutenant General Khumalo, and a Lieutenant Colonel, and me. I must mention that the PKTT portion of the meeting, the other attendees appearing on the list was not present in the meeting. Furthermore, the Lieutenant Colonel's name doesn't appear on the attendance list, but she was in attendance in the meeting during the presentation on the PKTT, as she accompanied Lieutenant General Khumalo, and I understood that she had assisted in the presentation of the preparation of the presentation. When the PKTT disbandment agenda item was discussed, the minister became visibly angry. At this point, I, together with Lieutenant General Khumalo, was still proposing that the disbandment not be implemented, but if it was going to be implemented, that it be a gradual disbandment as proposed and agreed in the 6th of March 2025 meeting. I have no idea what transpired after the 6th of March meeting that had such a significant influence on the minister. He was now completely against the agreed gradual approach and reverted to the immediate disbandment. The minister appeared to be angered by the fact that the statistics presented to him in the meeting showed that the PKTT members were still working and had made progress as reported by Lieutenant General Khumalo in the meeting. So, Lieutenant General Sibiya, for your comment, this is what the National Commissioner said. There was going to be the bottom line is no immediate disbandment. They will continue to do their work until these cases are finalized.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
I agree with the fact that the National Commissioner didn't agree with immediate disbandment. And he actually produced a plan that speaks to the phasing out approach. And that plan is that what was followed. It's exactly what happened.
He also didn't agree with what you wrote there on the 24th of April in that letter which you handed me and which Brigadier Kuneni, the investigating officer, referred to in his affidavit, where it calls for the return of the dockets and effectively the disbandment of the PKTT by I think also the 24th or the end of April.
Remember that, Chair and members, the National Commissioner never made it visibly clear that he doesn't agree with the minister. And I'm sure he has said it many times, even in the commissions, in particular at the Madlanga commissions. He said he didn't really object. And they asked him, would you carry out with him an unlawful instructions? He did. He never visibly really said, no, I don't agree. The National Commissioner walked with everyone, with us. And he never indicated really that it's not in agreement. That's why he could come up with an action plan that he approved, the one of the 6th of March. And you remember that statement where he said, he instructed General Khumalo, and his instructions took precedence over mine. We were not in competition with the National Commissioner. He's the National Commissioner. Once he say left is left, once he say right is right. So to say his instructions took precedence over mine. Personally, I'm saying whatever that happened on instruction of the National Commissioner, starting from the email that I received on the 3rd, leading to the action plan crafted by General Khumalo, leading to the docket being brought over as per the action plan. Everything that happened because the National Commissioner gave that instruction.
But you see, the National Commissioner's position remains consistent with respect. And this is apparent from his evidence, and I'm reading to you again from his affidavit, because you will recall that you submitted a proposal for additional funding. Why? Because the PKTT was going to be disbanded. You asked for additional funding. Clearly not for the PKTT. It was for the continuation of the work of the PKTT, whose dockets you had now requested to be returned, and this work was presumably going to be allocated elsewhere. So on the 22nd of July, and this I think while you were at home, on the 22nd of July, the National Commissioner disapproved your request for funding for the investigation of the 121 political task team killing dockets proposed by Major General Motsepe and recommended by yourself. This was in essence a proposal for the 121 dockets to be investigated and finalized by the Serious and Violent Crime Investigation, Murder and Robbery Section. And then the funding request by you is attached. And then the National Commissioner says, I disapproved the funding because it was essentially a duplication of the PKTT's mandate. I also questioned why the dockets are at headquarters when it was agreed that some dockets from the PKTT be returned to the station of origin. And that is still the case until today, Lieutenant General Sibiya, and you accept that?
No, I don't agree. And it is
you don't agree with what? I'm saying the position as far as the PKTT is concerned, they still remain in place. They still investigate all these dockets. They've been returned. They're working on them. They're processing them. They're proceeding with prosecution, etc. And they have now been extended until 26 March 2026. I thought we agreed that earlier. Those are the objective facts.
Council, you give me a wrong proposal, and when you ask me, do you agree, and I say no, and you say you don't agree with what? I'm saying to you now, Council, when the dockets were collected and were taken to General Mkhwanazi, he rejected them. And when he rejected the docket, General Sintumule immediately informed the National Commissioner. The National Commissioner said, let General Sibiya make a plan, the DNC make a plan. Then they put a team together, and General Motsepe prepared a report and a request for a budget for the members to go down and carry on with these investigations. It's not a question of we were disbanding and then starting something new. We can't close a task team only to start another one. That was not the idea. And I'm sure we all agree that General Mkhwanazi did agree that he refused to accept the docket because he says he was not told how the docket left. When he found out how the docket left, he immediately said, no, I don't want them, let them go back to where they come from, take them to General Sibiya's office. And I also want to make sure that, because Council, there's somewhere where I wanted to highlight that General Mkhwanazi did, in his statement, where he made a statement here and at Madlanga, where there is a contradiction, because at one moment he said he spoke to General Kumalo and asked or he was informed by General Kumalo as to what happened, why the dockets there. The first time he got to know about the fact that the dockets are ahead of the office, he said is when he got a call from General Sintumule. And the second time around, he says, no, there was a case management plan or discussion in KZN, and there's a colonel who told him that no, the dockets are at head office. So he gave two contradictory statements. So I just want to...
But General Sibiya, with respect.
Yes, Council.
The fact that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi refused to accept the dockets is neither here nor there. He never had the documents in his possession or under his control. The person who was responsible for the dockets was the project team leader, and that is Brigadier General Kumalo.
Yes.
So when the dockets are returned to General Mkhwanazi, he says, "No, why are you bringing it to me? I've never had these dockets. What must I do the dockets?" So I would submit to you with respect that that's neither here nor there, that he refused to take the dockets back. Surely, and that's also what he said in his evidence.
No,
Just
Chair.
to round it off, that these dockets must be returned in the way they were taken away in the first place.
No, Chair. Let us look at this thing for what it is. The dockets were taken to General Sintumole, who is the Divisional Commissioner of Detectives, who is the custodian of these dockets, called General Mkopozi, who is the Deputy Provincial Commissioner for Crime Detection, that I'm bringing this docket down there. And the general said, let me hear from the PC if I can receive this docket. The provincial commissioner said, I don't want this docket in my province. Take them to General Sibiya's office. And that is a fact. Yeah. That is what happened. He doesn't deny that he said that.
In fact, he wasn't even aware, General Sibiya, that the dockets had been removed. I mean, this was only confirmed on the 20th of May, according to his statement, at a case flow management meeting, when he subsequently learned that the dockets were handed over on your instructions.
I need a statement where he says, I learned for the first time when I received a call from General Sintumule about the dockets. And that's when I got to know that there are dockets. The dockets are not here.